A House divided Johnson's transgender controversy. The halls of Congress have long been a battleground for social progress. Now, a new controversy grips the nation's capital. House Speaker Mike Johnson finds himself embroiled in a storm of his own making. His recent press conference, meant to address legislative priorities, quickly devolved into a spectacle of exclusion. Johnson's refusal to acknowledge Representative-elect Sarah McBride's gender identity has ignited a firestorm of criticism. This incident lays bare the deep divisions within the Republican Party and the broader struggle for transgender rights in America. Refusal to recognize McBride's gender identity ignored. At the heart of the controversy lies Johnson's steadfast refusal to acknowledge McBride as a woman. This refusal is not just a matter of semantics or personal belief. This deliberate act of erasure, while seemingly symbolic, carries profound implications. It sends a message that transgender identities are not valid or worthy of recognition. It speaks to a deep-seated discomfort, a resistance to accepting the reality of transgender identities. This discomfort is often rooted in ignorance and fear. Johnson's words are not merely a personal affront to McBride. They are a public declaration that undermines the legitimacy of transgender people. They represent a broader attack on the transgender community, signaling a dangerous disregard for their humanity and dignity. This kind of rhetoric can have real-world consequences. Johnson's actions have consequences that extend far beyond the halls of Congress. They ripple through society, affecting the lives of countless transgender individuals. His words embolden those who seek to marginalize and discriminate against transgender individuals. This emboldenment can lead to increased violence and discrimination. This refusal to recognize McBride's gender identity is a stark reminder of the work that remains to be done in the fight for equality. It highlights the ongoing struggle for acceptance and recognition that many transgender people face every day. The fight for transgender rights is far from over, and incidents like this one show just how much progress still needs to be made. It is a call to action for allies and advocates to stand up and speak out. Together, we can work towards a future where everyone's identity is respected and valued, and where no one has to fight for their right to simply be who they are. Backlash and ambiguity. Johnson's second press conference. The backlash to Johnson's initial comments was swift and fierce. His remarks, which many perceived as insensitive and out of touch, ignited a firestorm of criticism. Condemnation poured in from both sides of the aisle, forcing the House Speaker to address the controversy head-on. The Speaker emphasized the importance of unity and respect in political discourse. A second press conference was hastily arranged. The urgency was palpable as staff scrambled to set the stage for Johnson's response. However, instead of offering a clear apology or acknowledging the harm caused by his words, Johnson doubled down. His tone was defiant, and his stance remained unchanged. He reiterated his personal beliefs, framing them as matters of dignity and respect. Johnson attempted to shift the narrative, portraying himself as a defender of traditional values. Yet these pronouncements rang hollow. The audience's skepticism was evident, with many questioning the sincerity of his words. Johnson's carefully crafted words failed to address the core issue at hand, his refusal to recognize McBride's gender identity. This omission was glaring and only served to deepen the controversy. His carefully crafted words failed to quell the growing unease. The defensive posture he adopted did little to bridge the widening gap between him and his critics. The ambiguity surrounding his stance on transgender rights did little to reassure those who feared a rollback of protections under his leadership. Protesters outside the venue held signs advocating for transgender rights, their voices a stark reminder of the ongoing struggle for equality. The public's reaction was a mix of disappointment and anger. Many felt that Johnson's response was inadequate and failed to address the real issues at stake. As Johnson left the stage, the questions lingered. Would he be able to mend the rift he had created? Or would this controversy mark a turning point in his political career? Only time would tell if Johnson's second press conference would be remembered as a moment of defiance or a missed opportunity for reconciliation. A party-divided, anti-trans sentiment in the GOP. Johnson's actions reflect a deeply troubling trend within the Republican Party, a surge in anti-transgender sentiment. This alarming shift is fueled by misinformation and fear-mongering, often targeting transgender youth and their families. It manifests in a wave of legislation aimed at restricting access to healthcare, education, and even basic recognition under the law. This fixation on transgender issues serves as a dangerous distraction from the real challenges facing our nation. While healthcare costs skyrocket and climate change threatens our planet, some lawmakers seem more concerned with policing bathrooms and dictating gender identity. This misplaced focus only serves to divide our nation and erode the hard-won progress of the LGBTQ+ community. Dangerous rhetoric. Representative Greene's threat of violence. Adding fuel to the fire, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, a staunch ally of Johnson, issued a chilling threat in the wake of the controversy. Greene reportedly declared her intention to fight any transgender woman who attempted to use the women's restroom near the House floor. This blatant call for violence against transgender individuals is abhorrent and unacceptable. It is a stark reminder of the very real dangers faced by transgender people simply for existing. Greene's comments are not an isolated incident. They are part of a larger pattern of dehumanizing rhetoric employed by those who seek to demonize and otherize the transgender community. Such language has no place in a civilized society, let alone in the halls of Congress. Legislating discrimination, Mace's bathroom bill. The controversy surrounding Johnson's comments coincided with another alarming development: the introduction of legislation specifically targeting transgender individuals. Representative Nancy Mace, a Republican from South Carolina, proposed a resolution that would restrict bathroom access based on biological sex. This thinly veiled attempt to legislate discrimination is not only cruel, but also unconstitutional. Mace's resolution, though unlikely to pass, is indicative of a broader effort to undermine the rights of transgender Americans. It is a dangerous precedent that, if left unchecked, could have far-reaching consequences for all marginalized groups. A question of priorities, Democratic pushback. The Democratic leadership was quick to condemn Johnson's actions, and the wave of anti-transgender sentiment sweeping through the Republican Party. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries called out the GOP's misplaced priorities, urging them to focus on issues that affect all Americans. Instead of addressing the pressing issues of our time, like healthcare, climate change, and economic inequality, Jeffries stated, "Some of our colleagues are more concerned with policing bathrooms and dictating gender identity." Jeffries' words highlight the stark contrast between the two parties' approaches to transgender rights. While Democrats largely champion inclusivity and equality, Republicans appear increasingly intent on rolling back protections and marginalizing transgender individuals. The true cost of division, marginalization, and fear. The controversy surrounding Johnson's press conference is not merely a political squabble. It is a reflection of a deeper societal struggle, the fight for acceptance, dignity, and equality for all. The rhetoric employed by Johnson and his allies has real-world consequences. It fuels discrimination, incites violence, and creates a climate of fear for transgender individuals across the country. When those in positions of power use their platforms to spread misinformation and sow division, they erode the very fabric of our democracy. They undermine the principles of equality and justice upon which this nation was founded. A call for unity, embracing inclusivity and respect. In these divisive times, it is more important than ever to remember our shared humanity. We are all part of the same global community, and our differences should be celebrated, not used as a tool for division. We must reject the politics of fear and division and embrace a vision of a more just and equitable society. This means actively working to dismantle systems of oppression and advocating for policies that promote equality and justice for all. We must stand in solidarity with the transgender community and all marginalized groups who face discrimination and oppression. Their struggles are a reflection of the broader fight for human rights and dignity. The fight for transgender rights is not a partisan issue. It is a human rights issue. It transcends political affiliations and speaks to the core of our values as a society. It is a fight for the fundamental right to live authentically and freely, without fear of violence or discrimination. Everyone deserves the right to express their true selves and to be accepted for who they are. It is time for our elected officials to lead with courage and compassion. They must listen to the voices of those who have been marginalized and take meaningful action to protect their rights. It is time to build a world where everyone, regardless of their gender identity, is treated with dignity and respect. This requires a collective effort from all of us to stand up against injustice and to support one another in our shared journey towards equality and inclusion. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more trending news.